Namaste, everyone, and welcome again to the International Yoga Day celebrations of Kaivalyadham. And today, before we go on with our topic, we will start with the Shanti part, as is customary in the Kaivalyadham tradition. So I request all of you to be seated comfortably, your hands and your feet well rested. Gently close your eyes. And notice whatever is happening in your body. Just check in with all the sensations that are happening in your body. Do a quick body scan from top to bottom and from bottom to top. If there is any strain anywhere in any part of your body, consciously put your attention to that part. And as much as is possible for you, in the position that you are in, relax. Do this with all the parts of your body wherein you notice any strain or tension. Pay special attention to your facial muscles, especially your forehead, and relax your forehead as much as possible. And now focus on your natural breath. The breath that comes in, the breath that goes out. Try to feel it as closely as possible. Try to be with it as much as possible. Just notice. And now, focus. Once your entire being is centered in your breath, please fold your hands in Namaskar Mudra. Take a long, deep breath and either recite the prayer of Sahana Bhavatu with me or just listen to the prayer. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sah Viryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. While you may release your hands, stay in the silence of the prayer and its vibrations and try to feel it in your body. The calmness that the prayer and its vibrations bring. Whenever you are ready, gently open your eyes while you exhale. So namaste again, all of you. And today we will start this 3-part series on yoga and mental health. with common psychological problems and its self-assessment. This is part 1 of the 3 series part. Now, this particular topic today has 2 parts, as you would see in the title slide. It has to deal with the common psychological problems and its understanding, as well as how do you self-assess whether you are having any of these problems. And we'll take the most common problems here. So, before we even actually look at the common psychological problems, I thought that it is important for us to understand whether we know what is really going on with the people around us in India, we as a nation. Are we really taking our mental health seriously? It's important for us to look at the statistics and know what is really going on so that we have a very broad view of things and also take steps for ourselves. So these are some of the statistics, and these come from very well-published evidence-based studies. And they may shock you, but I will lead you from that shock to more of self-awareness. So as you would see, in 2016, the leading cause of death in India was suicide, and for those aged between 15 to 39 years. So adolescent and young adults. And 70% of the suicide deaths were among women and 58% were among men in this particular age group. And if you look at the contribution of India to global deaths, global suicide deaths, in 1990 it was 25%. And 3 decades after that, it has risen to 37% among women and from 19% to 24% among men. So clearly we can see that suicidal deaths are on the rise in India, and also the contribution that India is having in this particular area, which is definitely a very sad story, something that we all have to take into consideration. And now I'm giving you 2017 estimates, and it reports, one of the studies have reported that 1 in 7 Indians, you imagine the population of India, and 1 in 7 Indians were affected by mental disorders of varying severity. And out of that, 46 million were suffering from depressive disorders and 45 million from anxiety disorders. So that's not a very small figure. So what could be the problems due to which, all these disorders are on the rise? So I've listed just some of the problems for you, just to so that you can relate to these problems in your personal life as well. All of you would be going through this at some point in time or the other. Increased expectations, stress on all fronts, pressure. And you would notice that nowadays in India, there is a high prevalence of nuclear families. Almost 88% is the estimate that one study has given. And if you talk about mental illness, there is so much of a taboo. There is so much stigma related to mental illness. Like in Hindi, they say, this person has become pagal. Pagal ho gaya. So this is how mental illness is termed. And then if there is so much of a taboo, there is no facility for dialogue, discussion, then what do you do? And then, now if you really want to go ahead and take that extra step of going in for a treatment, the treatments are expensive. The last estimate that I got yesterday is it would cost anything close to 19,000. That's too much. Also, absence of qualified and approachable mental health professionals. You don't know whom to approach. You don't know that the person whom you are approaching is actually a certified mental health professional. And on the policy level, lack of public awareness programs, low priority to mental health, or in healthcare systems, all these are some of the reasons. Now, I do not really want to shock you with these statistics. My intention is this. Are we taking our mental health seriously? And if we look at these statistics, we will see that we are not. So, with all these problems, my intention is to give you an understanding of the problems that we do face and will face and cannot escape facing in our day-to-day lives, which are that of stress, anxiety, and depression. And that is what we are going to deal with today and try to understand that as much as possible, try to be clearer in our minds of what are the signs and symptoms of these particular common psychological problems so that we do not use it loosely. And once we identify, so how does the solution of a problem come? You have to identify, you have to understand that there is a problem. And that will happen only if you know what really does it mean when you say you have anxiety, you have depression. So that is one. And then considering the expensive treatments, the unavailability, unapproachability of the mental health professionals, we need to at least have some resource or tool for self-assessment, which is very important. It may not be a foolproof tool, but we at least need to know. So that is the reason for me to present these statistics to you so that you not only help yourself, but you know that it is becoming to be a grave problem in India today, all over the world actually. I'm just giving you Indian statistics. And you help people who are close to you, people who are around you, in your families, in your workplaces, in your social circles. So that's very important. So now let us start with one of the most common psychological problems that each one of us faces in our day-to-day lives, and that is of stress. So now we will look at what does stress mean. So stress is a psychophysiological response of your entire human system. What does that mean? There is a psychological response associated with it, and there is a physiological response associated with it. The physiological response is related to the bodily hormones that get released when you sense stress because of some stressor. That stressor may be a deadline, that stressor may be anything to do with problems in your family, say in the current times of lockdown. All of us are facing financial problems, insecurities. So anything could be a stress. It can be the stress of, work in the sense of job loss. It can be anything. So when you sense the stress because of the stressor, your mind gives rise to disturbed emotion, due to which, that is the psychological response, due to which the physiological or the bodily responses start to occur. So you have to understand that stress is not just here in your mind. It is coming to your body as well. So now let's look at the next point of stress. So stress is also a subjective response. And what do I mean by that? I mean that it is a matter of individual perception, which means what is stressful to one person is not going to be stressful to the other. Let me take a very simple example. Take the example of a giant wheel, because at some point in time, we all must have encountered the giant wheel. For some people, going through the whole ride of the giant wheel and going to those heights is so stressful, they will just run away from the giant wheel. That stimulus of the giant wheel will create a fight or a flight mode in a person. But for some, it will absolutely be a thrill. It will be an approach tendency. So that is why stress, that is the stimulus, the stressor, is going to be, the response is going to be very subjective because it is related to your individual perception. Now, let's look at the next point on stress. Stress is positive as well as negative. We talk of stress in terms always as a negative phenomenon. But we have to know that stress serves a function. It gears your body into action. It is there because it has to serve a purpose. So there is positive stress, which means that the stress, whatever happens in your body and mind to meet a demand, to meet a deadline, to meet something that is important to you, for that you have to be geared up, and when that happens, then you spring into action and it results in positive performance. But sometimes this arousal that stress causes, the psychophysiological response that stress causes, it becomes negative and it leads to distress and it impairs performance. You become paralyzed because of sensing that stress. And it happens to the extent of creating all the possible psychosomatic problems. And stress is actually known as the mother of all psychosomatic ailments. So let's look at a kind of a definition of stress in the next point. And here I'm going to try and give you a simplified understanding of stress when we look at the equation of what is stress. Stress occurs, or stress is that when your perceived demand is lesser than, is greater than your perceived coping capacity. Now, if this particular simplified definition is too much for you, let me present this. Say, whatever you perceive, okay, now perception, individual perception is very important here. Whatever you perceive as the demand, the deadline, the assignment, whatever it is, whatever you perceive as the demand that is important to you to meet, you know that you have very good resources, coping resources within you as well as outside of you in your external environment to meet that demand. Which means what? Your perceived demand is equal to your perceived coping capacity and resources. They match. Now, if there is an imbalance can happen in two ways. Your perceived coping capacity is higher than the perceived demand, then there is no problem. You are relaxed, you are easy, you know that you'll be able to deal with it. But what if the perceived demand is higher than your coping capacity? Then what will happen? Then stress arises. So you have to understand that stress is a matter of individual perception, which will result in the bodily response as well. So that disturbed emotion is something that you need to deal with. So the stimulus, you have to pay attention to what is causing that stress in you. And this equation will give you an intuitive understanding of what is stress and make you more aware, so that you always try to be on top of stress and not let it overpower you. Let us then now look at the next psychological problem that is so prevalent in today's society, and that is of anxiety. So now we will have the slide on anxiety. Now, anxiety, it refers to, I'm going to talk more of feelings here. It refers to a feeling of worry and that of fear. Fear may be of an actual situation, and worry may be of a future unwanted event that you are sort of scared of. And what is the function of anxiety? It again serves a purpose like stress. It will spring you into action. It is the body's natural response, and it is a warning about soon to come danger, because you want to be able to address it. So anything that is going to happen, say, you worry about job loss, it is going to spring you into action, right? And that normal anxiety is adaptive, which we will see in the third point here, which is going to be flashed. It springs us into action. It will help you to deal with the fear of job loss in a way that will, spring you into action, that will help you to take all those actions wherein you may look for another job and another opportunities or other ways of earning a living. Now, when does anxiety turn abnormal? And that we will see in the next point. What is abnormal anxiety? So these things have to be there. What are these things? Anxiety out of proportion to genuine threat or danger. So the anxiety levels, you would see that it is too high to the perceived threat or danger. It will last 6 months or more, at least 6 months or more. That's, abnormal. And it will produce significant distress and impairment in daily functioning. You won't be able to go about your day-to-day life in a normal manner. So now, after we have looked at anxiety in brief, let's go to the next most prevalent problem in Indian society, which is that of depression. Now, depression, what is the feeling of depression? Depression, the feeling is that of uncontrollable sadness, sorrow. Added to that is you have a sense of listlessness for a very long period. Listlessness, to have a very intuitive understanding, is you don't have a list in life. You don't know where you're going, what you want to do. It's listlessness. And then you feel helpless, you feel hopeless, and you feel worthless. And you tend to cry for no reason. So all these are the signs and symptoms of depression. And in a moment, I am going to flash the next point there, which will show you the signs and symptoms of depression. So all these symptoms that are now going to be flashed, I would request the media team to flash all the signs and symptoms together at one go. So you will see that there is sad and depressed daily mood. There is loss of interest or pleasure in usual activities. There is reduced energy, fatigue, weight gain or loss, insomnia, that is lack of sleep or hypersomnia or too much sleep, feeling worthless, guilt, poor concentration. You have a very bleak view of life. You're negative about life. You have self-harm ideas, actions, and you also are thinking about suicide. That's like the extreme. And all the symptoms that I have flashed here, 5 of these, if they exist for a period of 2 weeks or more, then you really need to take cognizance of your state. The people around you need to take cognizance of your state and get help. So now that we have seen all these aspects of the common psychological problems and try to have a good understanding of these, we will look at ways of self-assessment. Now, today what I'm going to help you with in the self-assessment is a psychological test, which is called the Depression, Anxiety and Stress Scales, which was developed in 1995 by Lovibond and Lovibond from the University of New South Wales in Australia. And this is an indicative self-assessment. So you have to understand that we have to take the results with caution. It is a popular psychological test. It is available freely in the public domain, and it's a valid test. So now let's look at the link and let us try to click. I will click the link and I will show you where this particular test, this particular link takes us. So this particular, yes, so you will see it on your screen. It says anxiety, depression, anxiety and stress scales, which is the DASS. Now, before we go ahead and see the navigation for the test, I just want to explain the table to you there. So you see that you have a table there which says interpretation of DASS scores. And you will see that the three problems of depression, anxiety, and stress are listed in terms of cutoff scores, which is normal, mild, moderate, severe, and extremely severe. So this table is your pointer. So when you take the test, and I will navigate the links to you of how you will take the test, once you get the scores, you will correlate your score with the table which is available here on the home page and see what is it or how you have to interpret it. So now you will see a portion just below the table saying run the demo. Now this is on the home page, and what is there on the home page is the 42 item test. So this particular DASS has two versions. One is the 42 item test and one is the 21 item test. So on the home page, you will see that it is explained there that if you want to take the 21 item test, you can click there. It is right on top. So as a psychologist, I would advise you to go for the longer version of the 42 item test, which is right there on the home page. And when you scroll down, you will see the run the demo, and you can just click the link there, click here to run a demo of the survey, and you can just go and take the test. But because right now I have limited time, I am going to help you with the 21 item version. It's the same process. So I just click the 21 item version, which is right there on top. And then I click and I will see the page that was flashed on the screen earlier too. And it says, click this button to start the survey. And before, so we will be clicking this button to start the survey. What I want to tell you is that when on the page where you will see click this button to start the survey, below that we will see that it's said that your answers will be stored. If you take the test, you will know that even if your responses are stored, it is anonymous. There is nothing, no information related to you that is stored on the server. So you can very well go ahead and take this test without having to fear about storage of information or privacy issues. So on this page, you will see that there are 4 options that you have. How do you respond? You will see those radio buttons. It says never, sometimes, often, and almost always. And you will see that on the top, the description is given related to all these 4 options. Never means it did not apply to me at all. Right on top, it is there. And then sometimes, often, and almost always. Now, some things that you need to take into consideration while taking this test. Normally, this is done under the supervision of a psychologist, but in these times, we need a self-assessment which is indicative. So I am just going to give you pointers on what are the things that you should remember. First thing, you have to be honest with yourself. Very important. Otherwise, this test is not going to give you valid responses. Second, there are no right or wrong answers. It is just the test is trying to indicate your condition related to stress, anxiety, and depression. Do not spend too much of time on any statement because that will just confuse you. And then what you have to remember is these items that you will respond to, is something that you will consider about in the past week. What happened to you? How have you been feeling? So you just go ahead and take the test, and I would request the media person to just keep clicking the radio buttons there of never, so that we can just show our viewers that I'm just going to click never. This is a random clicking there, so that I can just display what appears after that. And like I said, this is a 22 version, 21 version item. So this is the shorter test. Please go ahead and take the longer test. That will give you a valid, much more valid response. If you are short of time, then fine. Go ahead and take the 21 item version. And then once all the radio buttons there have been clicked, I'm just, for convenience, I'm just doing never, never, never. And you will see that once I click this button to continue, you will see the score there. And because we have mostly clicked never, you will see that it all shows, 0, 0 or depression. Now you will get a score here of your depression, of your anxiety, and of your stress. If you're doing this on a smartphone, just take a screenshot, and then you note it down, and then you compare this with the original table. So you can just click this button to continue there. It says you're now done with the survey, and now click here to leave the website, and it will take you to the original page where you were. And if you have taken the 21 item DAS, it will lead you to that page. If you have taken the 42 version DAS, then it will lead you to that page. So now you compare. Once you've taken the test and do it properly in a calm environment, you compare it with the table that you will have. Now on the screen, you will not find the table here. That is because you have taken the DAS 21 item. But if you click, right on top, if you click the DAS, then you will get the table again, and we have seen the table already, so just compare. Now, one thing that I want to tell you is, on the home page of the 42 item DAS, yes, if you just scroll down, please, then you will see that it says official web page right at the bottom. And if you scroll down and click that link of official web page, it will take you to the original informative site of DAS. And when you reach there, and this is for those people who are not very comfortable with English, so there is a Hindi translation available. There are translations available in other languages as well. And you will see DAS translations. So if you please click on DAS translations there, that's the fourth option there, fourth link that you get. You will see all the versions that it is available in, and Hindi is one of the versions. Now, let us go back to our slides. Yes. So we have our slides there, and please go to the next point there, and I would like to, so the DAS in Hindi you will have to download, and it is not computerized. You will have to do it manually, or else the items are the same. So you can just, you can just see the translation in Hindi and click the English version, and you can just get your score. That is also fine. Let's have the next slide, please. And we will see some of the things that we have to remember here related to the limitations of DAS. So the DAS scores are indicative. Now, if you do have a high score when you administer this or do the self-assessment one time, and if you have a high score, then I would say repeat it after a period of 7 days. So the next time you repeat it, after 7 days, if you happen to have high scores again with honest responding, then I would say, that means when you compare it with the table, then I would say that you can sense that there is a problem and you really need help. So please approach a certified mental health professional, talk to people whom you're comfortable with, and go ahead and take the next steps, because this particular DAS is a very valid tool for diagnostics and clinical assessment only in the hands of the clinician, not in your hands. For you, it is just a matter of getting to know yourself well. So that is the limitation as well of DAS, and that you have to know about. And before we end, I do want to tell you that there are a lot of helplines that have been created, especially during these COVID-19 times, where you can seek help. People from Maharashtra, you can call the TIS helpline, which is called iCall. They have a chat-based counseling service, which is on the app. They have an email-based counseling service. Of course, telephone is available. You can go to their Twitter and Facebook pages of iCall helpline, which is that of Tata Institute of Social Sciences in Mumbai. Also, Mumbai University has started its helpline number, and you can approach that. Many of you students will belong to Mumbai University, but that's specific to COVID-19, but related to mental health. There is a 24/7 helpline called Empower, based out of Mumbai, which is again dealing with mental health. There are a lot of resources. Just go ahead and search. Just type in Google mental health helpline numbers. And especially in these COVID times, you have a lot of them focusing mainly on mental health. So please, I would request you, if you have a problem, just go ahead and seek help, and let that problem not stay with you. It is very important that you express your problem, you seek help, you try to talk to people about this, and be serious about your mental health. And with that, I would like to end this session. And could we please flash the no yoga and no peace slide there? And so in the next two series, we will deal with how can yoga help. It was important for us to first understand what is our problem, how do we identify and detect it, and then go to yoga. So now let us end this session with the Shanti part. So I request you to be seated comfortably. Take a long, deep breath. Join your hands in Namaste Mudra. Take a long, deep breath and recite Purnamadaha. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Whenever you are ready, gently open your eyes while you exhale, and you may also release your hands. And thank you so much, all of you, for being present. And we will meet tomorrow and see how yoga and yogic practices can help. Thank you very much. Have a great day ahead.